everyone, Sue here from 1A Auto, and today we have a 2012 Corvette Grand Sport L3 in the shop, and we're going to be putting the OP switch in. If you need that part or any other part for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. So when removing the OP switch on the 6.2 liter, we have to take the actual directive covers off and the upper intake out. It is located in the back corner here. On some vehicles like a Suburban with this engine 6.2 in it, you can actually reach back there, but not on the Corvette. The fiberglass body is right here. That's it, can't remove it. So we gotta take the upper intake off. First thing we're gonna do whenever we work on an engine is disconnect the negative battery cable. So go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna start taking off these covers. On this side, you have to take the oil filler cap off. I always replace it. You don't want anything falling down in there. So you get your fuel feed line right here going into the injector rail. So we're gonna have to disconnect that. I take a pocket screwdriver, remove the safety clip, and set that aside. Now we have these fuel disconnect and AC disconnect tools. We sell these at 1A Auto, and you're gonna grab the one that fits the actual rail size, and see how it has a split to it? So it's gonna go on like that, and that sleeve goes in there and pushes the butterflies open. So push in on the line, push the tool in, and bring it towards you. You're gonna get some fuel residual pressure. That's only because it's stuck inside the fuel rail. Now that we have our fuel line disconnected, we disconnect the harness, main harness for the injectors, and that is the gray connector right here on the driver's side valve cover. Just gonna lift that up, lift the tab up, and pull that aside. You also have to follow the harness along, and you're gonna disconnect the alternator regulator. And then down below that is the cylinder head temp sensor. You can pull that harness right up and bring it right up to the front here. Disconnect the metal clip to the power steering bracket. And then we have the mass airflow sensor. Tab is down below. Pull out that safety tab. And then let's feel the clip right there. Disconnect. And now we're gonna go follow the harness on the other side and see if there's anything else. Map sensor. So on this side, we're gonna disconnect the map sensor, which is located right here in the front. You get this big tab. I always bring my trusty screwdriver because it's a little bit easier sometimes. Wiggle that harness off. I'm gonna end up disconnecting the evap hoses. So there's a bracket right here. I'm gonna take my flat screwdriver, push that tab up, slide that out, or just take it off there. And on this side, you're gonna disconnect the main harness connector too. It's a gray connector, just like the other side. Now we're gonna take the throttle body air dam off and out of the way. 8mm socket. I'm gonna disconnect the clamp to the actual throttle body. And I've got an evap hose right here, so there's a tab right underneath here. You can see that. Push that tab and lift up on the hose. Take the rubber boot. I'm gonna just take my little small screwdriver and peel it off of the actual throttle body. Just run it around. Sometimes it gets stuck from temperature, engine temp. You've got 2 rubber tabs here, actually 3, one on the air box, and then these. You're gonna pull these tabs up. If they come undone, don't worry about it, because we're gonna disconnect them from that and re-put them in the housing. I'm gonna come to the front of the car here and just give it a good pull. These are the grommets that come undone. We're just gonna pull them right up like that, and I'm gonna put them right back into the airbox dam, so that way I don't forget, and that way when we go to install, pop right down in. See how they're set up here? There's a big groove in there, and the wider end goes on the bottom. So we're gonna just pinch them up in. Do that to all 3. And I'll probably spray it with a little silicone grease so that it goes down smoothly when I put it together. Next step we're gonna do is disconnect the emission tubes, which are these black plastic tubing that runs along both sides of the intake and goes into the airbox dam. So there's a little white clip right here. That's as simple as push down on those and pull. You just gotta keep your fingers pushed down on it the whole time, releases the seal and comes right up. Now we follow it down along the intake, and there's one back here. So I'm going to push down on that tab. And this is a little difficult because it's connected to another plastic one, so there's flex when you go to pull on it. Follow that top one right over. Here we go to the solenoid, purge solenoid. That's the top one. And it's connected right down here. Put my finger down there and pull this up. Now we're going to disconnect the vacuum booster hose. It's the main vacuum to the booster. You'll hear it seep out some. Hear that? That's just the air coming out of the booster. We'll disconnect that. And then we're going to take the actual map sensor out. It's a T25 Torx bit, only one bolt holding it down. Now there's a rubber seal that holds this inside that plastic intake. So it's a wood, not a wood screw, it's a plastic screw with a Torx head. It's not a bolt. Now to grab that map sensor, I'm going to wiggle it back and forth and pull up. First thing you want to do is examine that rubber seal, make sure it's not ripped. If that seal is ripped or damaged, this car is going to run real bad after, and that's not what we want. So now we're going to move on and take the injector rail out itself. There's an actual wiring harness from the alternator you see running over the top here. We're just going to disconnect that from clips. There's a little stud clip here, and then there's a middle clip that holds it on right here. Now we can pull this down away from the upper intake. And we see on this side there are holding the rail on. I see basically two bolts, two nuts and a stud. So we're going to take that off. 10mm socket. Take that stud out, and then one down here. There's two on that side. Repeat the process over here. So on this one, in front of the drivers, on the driver's side bank, there's a bracket that holds the intake down that also goes over the top of the fuel rail. So we have to take this one intake bolt out, 8mm socket, before we can lift the fuel rail up. Make sure that I set that aside and I know that it goes to that bolt hole. Now disconnect the electrical connector harness for the injector from the fuel rail. Use a body tool just to pull up on that plastic ear. You've got the injector caps on each injector, on top of each injector. Holds the injector on the rail. We want to take these off with a little small screwdriver, flathead screwdriver. Lift them this way. So there's 8 of these on top of each injector, so you're going to take each one off all the way around to both sides. Now there's also, with this fuel rail, to get to this back injector on this side, I have a plate, a steel plate. Unfortunately, you're going to probably have to take that off just to get to the injector connector. It's either that or you can just pop it off and pick it up afterwards after the whole intake is up, or get a magnet. So now that all the injector clips are undone from the fuel rail's unbolted on both sides, ready to be lifted up. Note, fuel is going to come out. Even if I took pressure and released it earlier, and the fuel did come out of this line, there's tons of fuel left in this rail, so it's going to dump out. So it's going to get stinky, but you can do it. Just be careful with the eyes. Matter of fact, I'm going to put safety glasses on. All right, so now you get your safety glasses on. I take a flathead screwdriver just so that I can really work it slowly and manipulate it up without doing any damage. So the instructions tell you to do the step per step the way I did it. And in the back of my head, I said years and years of doing this, that these injectors are going to come out with the fuel rail. It just seems to be the nature of the beast. And that is exactly what's happening. So I'm just going to see if I can pull it up and have the injector stay with the rail. It's just what's happening. And there's that bracket that I was telling you about. It's stopping it from coming all the way up. So Just take that bracket off. There we go. I need to disconnect the connector here, because if I lift this up, I want to leave the injectors in the intake. Like that. That's ideally what I want to do. So we have our last injector down here. Just a little guidance with the screwdriver, not prying on anything. You can lift the fuel rail up. Get it out of there. So sometimes whenever removing a fuel rail or an injector from an intake and you're not actually working on the injector, the O-ring will come off. Always want to examine them, make sure there's no tears, no dry rot. It looks good, it still has a nice rubber bounce to it. You can reinstall them and use them, or for under 10 bucks you can probably get all 16 of them, top and bottom, and replace them as you go. Now the connector that you have to disconnect is the electronic throttle body on the passenger side. So you have that little white clip, that's a safety lock clip. I know the screwdriver's a little overkill, but my other one's on the other side of the car. So you're gonna push in on the front tab and pull the connector out. While we're here, you'll see that there is another little plastic vent from the upper plenum going to the lower intake. It's this hose right here. You're gonna wanna disconnect that. So whichever connector is easier to get to the one on the actual intake or the plenum, you're going to take that hose. It's the same as the emission hose. Push on that tab and then pull that hose off. That one's difficult for you to see because the tab is underneath. Technically, I can't even see it. I just could feel it with your hand and disconnect that. Get that out of the way. Now we're going to disconnect every connector to the injector. I'm going to hold on to the injector and pull up on the tab. Now I'm going to undo all the upper intake mounting bolts. 5 on this side, 5 on that side. 8mm socket. That back one I'm going to have to do by hand. I'm going to take each bolt out, and it's just a good practice. I'm going to set it up. We know they're all the same length, but where the bracket one are, I'm going to take the bolts out, and you're going to have to lift it up with the 2 back bolts in and move it forward because of the actual overhang. So now I'm going to grab my upper intake firmly and just lift up. See if I can manipulate this bolt out and then try to reach over there at the same time. If not, I might need help. Okay, so I'm gonna I took the trim, the hood seal, just took it up and out of the way a little bit. And then there's a cover up here on the upper plenum. Take that out of the way you just lift it up and manipulate it out. And now you have more room on the upper plenum to lift upward. And there is a hose back here connected. Let's see if I can get this one last bolt up and out of the way. It's because I'm limited on motion because the hose is still connected in the back. But that's what I'm looking to do. Now I've got that out of the way. Set that aside, and I can see the actual hose, and it is this hose, which I knew it was. So now I have to, all I've got to do is the OP switch is right there, and that's what we're aiming for here. So now I can just manipulate this up and out of the way a little bit more. I'm going to disconnect that OP switch right here because you can see it now. And once I get the harness out of the way, I can get the vacuum line over it. Pull up on that safety tab, block, squeeze the tab, pull the connector out. Now where this light was coming on, it's flashing oil pressure, no oil pressure, and then the gauge was fluctuating everywhere. You always want to check your electrical, make sure you have no frayed wires. Doesn't look like anything got hot and melted. The prongs look okay. So now we can manipulate this vacuum line up and out. We have one more vacuum tee. You can see it right here. It's a little vacuum line feeding the intake. So I like to use like needle nose pliers. It's usually what I do. Or I see even better solution here. Squeeze these green tabs and pull the connector off. So now we have reached where the OP switch is, oil pressure switch, and we're gonna take it out of the valley pan. And this is a 1 1/16 wrench. We'll just put it right on there and break her free. And the reason why it's so hard to take it out is because it comes from the factory with the white thread sealer on it, and you can see it coming off right now, peeling out. See if I can get it by hand. There we go. Whenever doing anything like this, always do an oil change after. That kind of goes without saying. Here we have our brand new oil pressure switch from 1A Auto, and here's the factory one I just took out. Well, you can't get any more identical than this. This is, I might have to say, going down the assembly line on the same belt. It's a great price, and it's OE, as far as I'm concerned. You can see where this one went defective. They break sometimes internally. You can see the oil inside the connector here, and that shorts it out internally inside here. Not that difficult of a job. If you need this part or any other part for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. So here we have the sensor from 1A Auto, and it comes right from the box with already the thread sealer on it. So you don't have to apply any, you don't have to buy some if you don't have any. And that's nice because it's nice and it's dry on there, so it's really gonna apply itself when it goes in. Just always start it by hand. Confirm that it's going in correctly. Don't just assume and start ranking on it. This is aluminum and aluminum threads. So now with my 1/16 wrench, I'm going to just tighten it down. So now I've got it snugged down to the crush washer, and I'm going to put my wrench on and I'm going to tighten it down and feel that crush washer seat. You feel it, you actually feel it pop down and then it locks. Just like that. So now with a clean rag, I'm just going to take a little parts cleaner, brake clean, soak it down a little bit, and I'm just going to wipe my surfaces. I'm not going to use any abrasive, any sandpaper, because this looks in great shape. I just want to get any dirt, sand, anything that could have fallen down. I want to make a nice smooth surface. You can do this to both sides. So here are the upper plenum gaskets right here. I just installed these particular ones not even 2,000 miles ago. So I'm going to examine and make sure there's no tears and they're still seated properly on both sides. Strongly recommend you get a new set and get the injector O-ring set. But I know I just did these not even 3,000 miles ago. So I'm going to leave them in, but I'm just going to clean them up and give them a quick visual. Now we're going to place the upper plenum back in on the heads and the valley pan. I do not want to drag it, so I'm going to set it right there so that I can re-angle these hoses. I'm going to bring them down under this harness. Bring them out over here on the driver's side. Take note that they do go around the back side of this OP switch that we just installed, so not in the front of it. And don't forget the great old back two bolts there. They've got to go in before we push this intake all the way in. So now I'm going to lift it up in the front, guide it back just a hair, bring that harness vacuum over the OP switch. See if we can tuck it down in there. There we go. Now I'm going to get the OP connector and reconnect this. You have some marks to line up on the switch. You get the two ears here and the lock tab. So I'm looking at the angle of how this goes, so I can make a clear shot of this. Set it down on top of it, push down until I hear it click. Make sure that hose, the rubber hose, is really out of your way. Now with that, it clicked, and I'm going to reach my hand in and make sure that that safety lock is down all the way. And it is. Yep. So I'm going to grab my two bolts, the two back ones with the bracket, and guide those in right now. So this is the intake bolts. So what we're going to do is you want to clean the threads. We're going to take a wire wheel to each threaded bolt. They're all the same. And then before we install the intake, the upper intake, we're going to apply a small bead of thread lock, about that big, and apply. This is medium strength. I don't need red strength. These are only 6mm studs, bolts. So you just put a little bit of thread lock on that thread like that, run it around to each bolt before you install. Okay, that one's on. Come on now. There we go. There we go. Seat it. Sure it feels like it's seated. Now I'm putting all the upper plenum bolts back in, lining those up. I'm just starting them by hand, make sure they're grabbed nice and smooth. And we'll torque those down. I like to take a dry run with the actual fuel rail to confirm that I'm ready, everything's lined up, because remember, I can't torque this down because I have to have this bracket loose to get the injector rail out. So I'm definitely going to put them down as far as I feel comfortable with before I put the injector rail on, because I also have to put this on after the injector rail's on. This is one intake bolt over here. So grab a little silicone paste. Sometimes I find carb clean or injector cleaner, shall I say, throttle body cleaner, is amazing to put on the O-rings, and it will slide right in. If you use Vaseline or a silicone paste, it just doesn't work as smooth, even though you would think it would. But it really works great if you put some throttle body cleaner on there. They slide right down in. So now we have to guide the insulation in, and it has this back rubber piece. You can try to put this in at the same time with the intake, but I don't know. I mean, for me, it's a headache both ways. This way seems to be a little bit more tolerable than trying to work around this thickness of this and get those back bolts in. So I like to squeeze the insulation down on one side. And once I get it there, you'll see, grab a screwdriver and go to this side. At this angle, I push it down over, and there it is, falls right in. Except that I put this bracket on first and on the other side, so undo this bolt, take this bracket out of the way. There we go. So before I put the fuel rail down and torque everything down, I'm going to take advantage and put my emission tube right into place. And I'm going to connect it in the back here, and that's it. I'm not going to connect it over there on the front. And then I'm going to also connect my injectors to the harness. Yeah, that clicked in. Now I can bring my harness over and just push these in. So technically, I don't know why it tells you to disconnect the main harness connector. You really don't have to. That's what the directions said, because the harness doesn't come out with it. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Slide my injector rail on. So now I'm going to put the injector rail on top of each injector. Go on both sides, line it up the best I can. Then I'm going to spray throttle body cleaner at the injector on the top and see if I can get it to pop down smoothly. Okay, there we go. Watch your harness, make sure those are up and out of the way, because those will interfere also. So now I take my throttle body cleaner and I just spray the top where the O-rings are real quick, and you'll see it pops right down on like butter. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. And once you've got all the injector rails down, pop down on the injectors, you can put the mounting studs in, both sides. Now we're going to torque down our intake bolts, and there's a pattern to it. You know, everything has a sequence. So 1 is here, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 8mm socket, and I'm going to tighten mine down first with the electric little 1/4 inch and just snug it. That's all. I'm just going right till it stops, because the first pass is 44 inch-pounds. The back one here, you're probably going to need a swivel of some sort because of the firewall. I like to switch right back over to the solid socket. And then number 2. All right, so now we can get the torque wrench ready to go. Okay, my torque wrench is set for 44 inch-pounds. That's the first pass. There's 1. 2 is over here. Obviously, inch-pounds is not a lot. So it is important to, once you put the bolts in and start them, because you have thread lock on them, is to jump right on the torquing and torque it to all steps that it requires. You don't want to leave it hanging around, because you don't want that thread lock to dry. You want it to dry once it's in place. This is the first step. The second step is 89 inch-pounds. So now we're going to move our torque wrench up to 89. Okay, we're at 89 inch-pounds. We're going to start that sequence all over again. Now that's the final step, but I like to go one step further, and I'm going to double check. I'm going to do one more pass at 89. Now with a 10mm on my 1/4 inch drive electric, I'm just going to snug the fuel rail down, keeping an eye on where it seats on the injectors. I know it's seated, but I just want to watch it and make sure nothing acts too funky. I like to do this in a crisscross pattern also. Now I'm going to get my torque wrench. That's still set at 89 inch-pounds, and I'm just going to snug that right down. So I like to, next we're going to put the injector clips on. See the slotted side? That side sits on the skirt of the fuel rail, and this cutout circle is going to go on the top of the injector. So I use a pair of needle nose so I can fish them down in there. See if I can get it lined up properly. And push on with my finger. So see how it worked around. That side locked in over there. So I'm just gonna manipulate this up a little bit. There we go. You'll know it's seated because it just sits nice and square. And I'll move on to the next one. Okay, that's seated. Now it's time to reconnect the electronic throttle body connector. Line that up, snap it in, make sure you push down the lock. And then we have that one hose that's inside here. It's going to connect to the upper plenum. Has some flex to it, just don't force it too much. Snap it in place. Now we can put the evap line back down. Kind of self-molded, does guide itself basically down into place. Lock in. So this is our map sensor connector. And this is our going over to the intake, the air intake. And now we're going to get the map sensor and install that. So here we have the map sensor. We're going to install it. I checked the O-ring, it's in good shape. I took a little throttle body cleaner on a rag and I wiped it down. So place it in line, just wiggle it back and forth. And then we have the actual bolt, or screw, shall I say. Start it by hand, and that's a T25. Let's connect that. So now we're going to put this emission tube on. There's that purge valve on there, and then this goes on the other side. There's a connector. Connect that. These clips break over time, so it's not unusual to see those broken. They get just from the heat. But if they're still somewhat there, I'm going to definitely bring them so that they stop the hoses from rubbing each other. That's basically what they're there for anyways. So now we're over here and we're going to connect our two vacuum lines. That's this feed right here. And then our main vacuum boost. Just wiggle it back and forth, goes right into that grommet. We know that this is going up here. This goes on the stud that goes to the fuel rail, and that connector wraps right around that steel line. Always just keep an eye on everything. Watch how it goes down in. You don't want it rubbing, forcing itself to rub. That's going to go on our throttle body when it comes in. That's the mass airflow sensor. So now I'm going to run, this is the connector for the head temp sensor. It goes down right behind the little harness here on the alternator. It's got a little plastic tab that's going to go into a bolt hole that's mounted on the side of the firewall. Mounted on the side of the block. Then you're going to connect your alternator regulator. Now we will get the fuel line connected back to the rail. Those are the tabs inside that act like a butterfly. So you hear it click on. locked in. Put the safety clip on. That goes in this way and then down on the line. I'm going to reconnect my hood seal. So now I'm going to take a throttle body cleaner again, and on a rag that's clean, I'm going to soak it, and I'm going to just run this real quick on the inside right here. Line up my cover of the air filter down there. Make sure I get everything out of the way. This is a hard position if you're small. The rubber piece wants to peel over. That's what you're trying to avoid. So sometimes a nice flathead screwdriver, and you can guide it around. Obviously not with severe force, you just want to make sure that it goes around the outside of the throttle body. So with a hook, you can also grab it and bring it around underneath, top and bottom like this. And that way it won't peel down into it. There we go, I heard it. Groom. Give a quick spray on the grommets. Push down on the grommets, get them all lined up. Take your vent hose, bring it down over, click it, it goes like that. There you go. 8mm socket. I'm going to tighten up that clamp. And then last, we're going to connect mass airflow sensor connector. Make sure we push that lock down in. Now this has a clip on it, and it goes right here on the metal bracket on the power steering pump. Make sure you connect that. You don't want that harness going down hitting the belt. So now we're going to connect our negative battery cable back on, and once that's tightened, I'm going to turn the key in the on position, and I'm going to check for pressure. And the fuel will shoot itself on, it will get the voltage, and it'll turn on for 2 seconds or so, and it builds up pressure. I'm going to turn it off and on, turn it off and on, and make sure I have no leaks on my injector O-rings. Confirm there's no leaks, and then I'm going to start her up. Now with my car running, I'm going to give it a quick visual. You'll find little things like things that come on loose just from rubbing and moving things. Just reconnect them. Injectors look great, no leaks. Okay, we're ready to put the engine cover on and give it a road test. Now we know we've given it a visual. We have no leaks, no fuel rail leaks. Ready to put on our covers. So this cover splits with the fuel line. So you're just going to split it down over. Line up the mounting spots. Push down on it. This side is the oil cover, so we got to take the oil cover off. Let it slide down over. put our cover back on.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1aauto.com, your place for DIY auto repairs, for great parts, great service, and more content.